Hi, my name is Brianne Barato, and I chose to virtually attend the Kern High School District Board meeting on November 5th. This district is located at 5801 Sundell Avenue here in Bakersfield. They serve approximately 40,000 students, and that's around 26 high schools in the Kern County area. They serve grades 9 through 12 and have several different locations. The board president is Mr. Philip Peters, and he is one of 5 elected board members. However, at this meeting, it was his last one, so he's actually going to be resigning and won't be their president for the next calendar year. The Kern High School District Board meets every month, once a month, on the first Monday. They are required to address several types of business. They go off of an agenda that is composed by different people in different areas of the district or within the district. Those areas are the superintendent's office, the instruction field, the education services, innovative programs that they're doing in the districts or within the district. They also do things with human resources. So this whole agenda is composed of all those different areas. And in particular, this meeting, they talked about proposed ideas from different chairs of the different departments. They talked about educational rewards that were given out and awards for these special students that were actually at their meeting. They talked about out of boundary approvals for field trips. So basically, they were just going through those motions. Basically, they just talk about all the issues that need their authorization throughout their whole district and their 26 schools. So the general format of the meeting was very organized. They were on time. They were very strict with their time. They were respectful of the speakers that came in and talked. They were very just professional, and they were often silent and respectful of the people that were talking. So I thought that was just plain and simple the way that it was laid out. It had a very positive feel to it. I felt like the board members really were listening and caring and using their time effectively. So I thought that just a basic general format, it was very positive. I found this board meeting to be useful for teachers, parents, students. It was very useful for everybody that would need it. Topics that I found interesting were when the education division of the agenda was brought up. It was interesting because the members were stating that teacher salaries will be increasing in the next calendar year. So they basically were saying that the rate is going from 4% to a 6% increase. And I thought that was just super interesting because it brought me back to what we learned in the very first week of this class. We learned, not the first week, but the second week, we learned in that first chapter that these teachers are worried about salaries, and that's something that we're going to be worried about too. And I feel like, throughout the book, we've seen that teachers are very underpaid for what they do. So I feel like a jump from 4 to 6%, I feel like that's a step in the right direction for these teachers and us as future teachers. And, I feel like that was just interesting and important for us. Another interesting item on the agenda was from the business division. In the board, in the meeting, the board called the business division's clerk to the stand, and he began addressing items that were brought to the attention of those board members that night. he was talking about the demand for teachers in California. So I thought that this was so interesting and important too. So he was saying that for the next calendar year, in California alone, there will be a need for 22,000 teachers. But every year in California, only 11,500 people are credentialed. So there's such a huge need for teachers right now. And like that brings me back to that first chapter too that we learned about. There was a section called Challenges in Teaching, and one of the subsections was called it was called, sorry, I lost my page. Finding a job. So that was one of the biggest challenges in our book for teachers. And to me, I'm thinking like, how do we have such a high demand, but it's so hard to find a job for these teachers? So I feel like with bringing it back to that 6% increase, I feel like people, I mean, that's not a huge jump, but it could be for some people. So it's like, I feel like if people knew that and they started to listen to these board meetings before they became teachers and saw what district they want to work in and stuff like that, and see that these increases do happen, I feel like we wouldn't be in such a demand for these teachers. So that was one of the parts of the board meeting. They spent quite a bit of time actually talking about that, so I thought that was really interesting and important again for us as future educators. Another just kind of tidbit of information that I thought was kind of crazy, but also important, is that one of the Human Resources Division clerks or associates is essentially, she said that the binge drinking and drug use was down a reported 33% within the Kern High School district. So, I mean, that's a great thing that it's down, but to me, I'm thinking, I can't believe that 9th through 12th grade is binge drinking and using drugs as much as it can go down 33%. To me, that was just interesting. One other thing I wanted to address that this board meeting addressed was the fact that there's a new issue with a school being brought into the district. They're going to propose a school to be put in at Panama Lane in Cottonwood. And a lot of parents from the Lamont community were there to speak to the board. And they were super upset because they feel like the Lamont community doesn't have anything or doesn't have a high school. And so they wanted the board to hear them out. So during this time, there was an allotted time for these public people to come in and speak to the board members. So the whole time they're speaking, I felt like the board was very professional because a lot of these people were very upset. They didn't disregard their time. They didn't speak out of turn or anything like that. So I thought that that was very respectful of them. And just also another interesting part is because we as like CSUB students, we don't think about those high schools and how they're affecting. So if some of us voted for that school to be, not that we vote, but if some of those people are voting to put this school in and they don't think about these other kids that are going to be affected, just kind of interesting that was a big issue for these schools. Overall, I felt like I chose the Kern High School District board meeting because if I was to become a teacher, which most likely, but if I did want to do that, I would want to be a high school biology teacher. So I thought that was fun and interesting to choose Kern High School District. And I'm glad I did because there were certain things that I wasn't aware of that now that I've watched this board meeting, I feel like I have a better understanding of how those things work. And if I was to choose a district here in Bakersfield, I feel like that would be a very great tool. Uh, just because I was able to watch it virtually, so you could probably watch a lot of them virtually. So I think that that's a really great tool to have, especially as a student and trying to become a teacher. So just that's why I chose Kern High School District. So thank you for your time.